Hey everyone, we're here in our third episode of our dodging flanking dude. I was doing some thinking between the last episode and this, and I feel sort of like I messed this up because for all of you playing at home, you're probably not playing MPA Sil, which means you probably can't do this lore keeper thing to identify consumables. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to keep playing until I have enough experience to get lore master, because that's probably what you actually want to do if you're playing vanilla Sil at this stage in the build. What I can't take back though is that I've already gotten the experience for all the consumables I already ID'd, which is significant. It's like 1,000 or something. So I apologize for that. Kind of messed that up. But let's just stick to that plan for now. So at the very least, let's buy that point of perception. So we'll need maybe another 400 to get lore master. So I said last time that typically upon arriving on a new floor, if your stealth is anywhere close to 0, you're probably going to wake up a lot of bad guys right as you arrive. So sometimes I like to just hang out and like ditz around the room, but the problem is the stairs are there. What am I even wearing right now? A longsword. That spy didn't help. So there's a troll coming. I'm going to keep the longsword on for the troll, I guess. I'll get some crits. Have I taken finesse yet? No. Okay. So this should be fine. So I zigged this way so I would get the charge off. Charge and flanking together are pretty cool. This though, this +9, 6 to 17 is decent armor, but the +9 is not great evasion. This is not extreme protection, and this is not extreme evasion. Middle of the road is really bad for guys that hit hard infrequently, because they probably will hit you, and your crummy protection won't save you. So these guys are 45, that's not terrible actually. Because the odds of them getting a critical hit in is pretty bad. Ignore those. I'm not understanding where these single trolls are coming from. Good stuff, and we're going to get Lore Master just in time, because I'm not sure if I said this in previous episodes, because it's been so long, but for a long time I used to wield ID or wear ID amulets, and I've just found that recently, pretty much almost 1 out of every 2 times I do that, it's an amulet of Constitution -1 or something. And that's not something I want to deal with. I mean, this is a best case scenario for that because I have 5 con, which is a lot for the early game. And I guess since I am hopefully getting Lore Master soon, I'm just going to wait. Actually, this sword is doing pretty well. I was going to switch back to the battle axe, but maybe not. And then after we get Lore Master, I'm not quite sure where we're going to go. We could go for some will and get Inner Light, but we have a reasonable amount of time before we get to 500-ish. We'll meet Shadow Worms probably before then, which are really bad if you let them get out of hand, but if they get out of hand, having more light doesn't really help you anyways. So let's take Lore Master. So yeah, having more light for that isn't really super required. The great sword we got is Doriath. That's helpful. It's quite heavy. I'm probably... Oh, it's -1 too, that's good. I'll probably ditch this great sword because it kind of fills the same niche. And then everything else, this broken sword of Gondolin, probably not so useful, but if we get swarmed, it'll be good to have. Oh yeah, and I was going to mess around with this dagger of accompaniment. Let's try it actually. We're not in super danger here. Oops. So my least favorite thing about 2-weapon fighting is the interface that you use to equip weapons. It's if you're used to 90% of the time using shields, I miss key all the time. And I mean, this is no criticism of the game designers or anything, it's just I find it very awkward. I fat finger it all the time. Alright, let's play with this for a little while. So that looks like a shadow mold. When you see a dark patch like this around this depth, 350, what you might want to do is just wait around and see if it wiggles, which is sort of a funny thing to do, but if you see the darkness kind of pulsating or something, it means they're probably shadow worms, and you want to kill them fairly quickly. I really should stop doing this, but let's see. I'm going to try and figure out where he's sitting. Really? There he is, okay. The reason why I killed it there was not for the experience, it's because sometimes they have stuff... Oops. Yeah, sure, why not? Sometimes they have treasures sitting in their darkness radius. Okay, so this is sort of a bad weapon to use. These guys, I think, have high protection. Oh no, wow. Okay. They have no HP and no defense, so... Sweet. Okay, that's... I used to waffle with early lanterns as to whether I should save them for something or not, but this is a little tiny bit late, but if I find them early, I just use them now because it's sort of like getting keen senses for free with respect to violet molds, and we could still meet a violet mold here, so if I... Wow, traps. If I do meet one, having the extra light radius helps. How far are we from exploring the whole level? I'd like to do 2 levels in this video because if we get into the habit of just doing 1 level per video, this is going to take forever. Okay. One of the changes that was made in this version of Sil is that these guys lost map rot, which what that means is normally they can ring a bell and you forget the whole map. And there's been some argument as to whether this is good or not. I used to not mind it. I think if I had to deal with it now, I'd be a little bit annoyed, but generally what you want to do is when one of these things shows up, you want to take a peek as to where the stairs are. At this point, honestly, if I got map rotted, the strategy I would probably take would be maybe explore east a little bit, and then just beeline for middle west, because that's where the downstairs are. So whenever a mulip shows up, just try to remember where you are and the general direction you need to head in. This isn't really that great, this accompaniment thing. It's cute though. Let's try it against trolls, this should be fun actually. I wonder if the charge works on the accompaniment hit. Oh, you get some good criticals of the offhand. Okay, maybe that's not so bad. Alright, so let's just, this is pretty fun. Actually, I wonder what happens if I wheel an axe. Let's try it. This stage in the game, I mean, we're doing okay. So, we might as well just be risky and die for no reason. Oh my goodness. Why is he fleeing into... Oh, right, they're erratic. Couldn't figure out why he's fleeing towards me. But they can't really control where they go for little guys. Yeah, I think the charge probably only works on the first swing. It's good to note that if we didn't have Lore Master at this point, picking up any kind of boots with an ego on them, there aren't any sticky curse boots. So it's always safe to wield or wear ID them. The problem is that if you find boots of treacherous paths, they bring more dangerous monsters to your level, even if they're just in your pack. So it's almost dangerous to hold on to boots that aren't immediately auto-ID'd, even if you're just keeping them in your inventory. So one thing you can do, we met a Gravewit White. We covered that in a previous video. Those guys will try to paralyze you. So you can just kind of, they're not super dangerous. You can try to sit around until they do, and then hopefully it'll ID the free action if it's boots of free action. Otherwise, if it's not boots of free action and it didn't wield ID, I think it has to be treacherous paths. Okay, so now we're going down to 400. That is probably a shadow worm because it's just a little blip. So let's go and kill that with extreme. Oh no, it's a shadow mold peeking his head out of a door. That's annoying. Okay, so what can we potentially encounter at 400? Something I'm surprised we haven't yet is our orc captains, who bring packs of guys with them. Orc champions, I don't think we've even seen. That's a little bit weird. And Easterlian archers, like I said, will probably show up pretty soon. We're getting close to... I think we're at the depth now where you can meet distended spiders, which poison you for a lot of damage. They're normal speed. And this combination of evasion and protection is kind of bad news bears for distended spiders. If they hit you twice, you can get easily a poison clock of like 30. But we have that Sword of Doriath, so hopefully we can just steamroll over them if we see them. We've got some experience now, so I might just improve melee a little bit. I'd like to be able to hit things. And then maybe if we get to 450 and we haven't found like another thing that gives us light, I might switch and get some inner light. But for now, we're doing okay. So let's explore a bit more. I mentioned in an earlier video that, I think the last one, that one of the uniques that you can sort of meet around the stage in the game, I think we're a little bit late now, but he's called Bulldog the Merciless. He's an orc guy. And I was reading the page on Tolkienian orcs. By the way, there's that spider. But yes, this is a thing I do. I read Wikipedia articles about orcs. And it turns out that there's some suspicion that Bulldog, he's mentioned in one of the like sort of supplementary tales that Tolkien wrote. God, do we hate these things. And it sounded like he was just a single guy. But I think in later letters or something, Tolkien himself, I think, claimed that Bulldog was actually a generic term used for orcs that had spirits of Maiar in them, which Maiar are like spirits that aren't quite gods. They're like demigods, like Hercules is basically. And Gandalf was one. The Balrogs are one, or some. Sauron was a Maiar who just got really buff. But there was this idea that bulldogs were orcs that were inhabited by spirits of Maiar, or they were just Maiar that decided to take the form of orcs. So this is incredibly nerdy, but these bulldog things were sort of like mini Balrogs. They weren't on fire or anything, but that level of power. And there was some... Oh, I forgot about wargs. There was some discussion about possibly the Great Goblin, I think, which apparently is in The Hobbit. I don't remember this. Being such a guy. And there was another orc that I think may have been a Maiar too, but I don't remember. It was neat stuff. Another thing that's interesting. Let me just kill this thing first. I love playing elves because I can kill wargs conversationally. This is something I'm not used to. I'm going to take this in case we find something good and cursed. We probably need to drop something because that cloak is likely a candidate. Again, wielding this dagger in my offhand. Oh, which I'm not. Am I just like... Oh, right, the great sword. Derp. Okay, so I didn't really need to drop that. I might just keep... There's so many things that Doriath helps against at this depth, I might just keep this on. But whatever. What was I saying? Oh, right. So this thing, these murky brown portions of orcish liqueur. Apparently later in life, it bothered Tolkien that phonetically, if he were to read this in English, it would be Orcish, which I don't know anything about phonetics, so maybe I'm explaining this wrong. So he decided, after The Lord of the Rings was published, that orc should actually be spelled with a K. And I think the conclusion may have been that if you're just talking about an orc, like in the singular, you use orc with a Z. But if you're talking about them in this sort of adjective way, you would use orcish with a K. So people usually make fun of the spelling orc, like ORK as being like Warhammer 40k or something, because that's how these spell works. But actually, later in his life, it was something that Tolkien considered to be canon. Or whatever you want to call it, official. Where are all these words coming from? Maybe I'll just try and kill them with stuff. This is actually not a great place to be as a flanking guy, but with wargs it's not bad because they move erratically. So it's not the end of the world if you get stuck in one of these corridors, because they'll make space for you eventually. Yeah, I'm just going to keep this for now. See? So many of the monsters here are Doriath-ish monsters, that, which are spiders and wolves. It's almost worth hanging on to this. If you're curious about the mechanics of dart traps, somebody posted this on the forums recently. The way these things work is that they roll... I don't remember if there's a melee roll or not. I think they literally just roll damage against you if you get hit. Yeah, that's what it is. So if you trigger the trap, it rolls 1d15 damage against your armor. And if you fail that check, it does 1 damage, like literally 1 damage. It doesn't actually use like the damage residual to hurt you. And then I think you suffer the effects of the dart. Okay, so this missing thing, I guess, is a melee roll of some kind. If I had combat rolls on, we might be able to see it, but... Those purple things are really obnoxious. Okay, let's see if I can get away from it. Ugh. The purple flies drain decks. I was thinking I was going to have to change to my dagger of accompaniment, but I killed it with a greatsword. Oh, that battle axe I have is actually quite good. I didn't realize it was special. This is good. Rings of Protection are great for armor-heavy characters because they bump your minimum protection, which is like your guaranteed damage absorption. And this warding thing is super handy too. Okay, now I'm going to get rid of this cloak. I'm greatswording, so... The problem with keeping this dagger of accompaniment around is that I'm sort of wasting... Oh, shoot. An inventory slot? I should have known that was there too. You are literally the worst thing ever. That was actually pretty dumb what I just did there. So this is where I start to waffle about whether I should take more points in evasion or not. If I switch to, let's say, the axe and a shield, 7 to 18, that's pretty solid. And if I switch to the sword, I can actually hit things. Okay, so as cute as this 2-weapon fighting thing was, like, this is cool. I'm sure it's viable. I don't want to screw with it right now. Although, you know, I have the space for it. But this is probably the safest way to play, is let's really boost our protection, let's keep evasion kind of low. Let's see how low we can keep evasion, and if we get uncomfortable, we can bump it a bit. What is wrong with me? Reason being is we save a lot of experience that way, and we can invest it in other places. If we go towards will, probably what we'll do is get, in some order, Inner Light, Hardiness, and then Constitution. Later in the game, we'll get critical resistance. You want this sort of around 750 feet if you're a low evasion, high protection guy, because that's where you start meeting cat warriors and greater werewolves. And, why? Okay, so let's draw them out here. The thing I don't like about this situation, I want to go and screw with their AI and pin them against the corner, but I don't like doing it in sight of stairs, and like every room for miles around here has stairs in it, so I'm just going to have to deal with it. Yeah, I don't like messing with flanking with these guys because I find it harder to predict their AI when I do that. And the worst thing is if they decide to run back down the hall. So luckily, the only thing that came up those stairs was an Orc Thief. That could be a lot worse. Wow, awesome. He dropped a chest. I'm glad we got to kill that one. Okay, so... Nice poison. Pretty impressive. Great Helm, Crown of Command. Oh, that's neat. Song of Mastery. That's actually really cool. I don't think I've ever found one of these. Maybe, you know, because we're going to go for song in this game. Probably not a lot. I think by the time we have enough song to buy Song of Sharpness, it's not going to be a high enough song score to make Song of Mastery work. What Song of Mastery does is it makes bad guys freeze in their tracks. They still get their evasion rolls and stuff, but they won't. I mean, there's a chance that they'll miss their turn every turn. So what I really should have done there, and if I'm getting careless now, this is probably a bad idea. When I saw him, I should have ducked around the corner because then he won't chase me. Switch to the greatsword and then paste him against the wall. But honestly, I just get tired of putting my shield back on. Let's see if I can. I didn't mean to full rest there either. I should make a macro that's like past 10 turns or something. Oh, I've already burnt a lot of oil. The Mountain Trollster. Oh, I didn't even see him there. Okay. Wow, this level is huge. Okay, I'm not exploring this whole thing. One change I'd kind of like to see made is sort of a, and maybe this already is in the game and I just haven't noticed. I would kind of like to see a incredibly strong prejudice against large levels, like before 600 or 700 feet, because this is, I'm sort of compelled to explore the whole thing, but there's not really much point. These barrow whites, there's usually more than one of them together, and I don't think they ever exist without a horde, or like a vault or something where they have stuff. So it's good to chase them when you find them. I don't remember what their protection is, so I think we can go take a look. No monsters. I think it's called Wraiths or Undead or something. Whites and Wraiths. Oh no, their defense is terrible too. Okay, well anyways, I'm just gonna splatter it. Interesting. Is that a bug? It seems weird that if they touch you to trance and then they touch you to try to trance again, it actually does the opposite and wakes you up. I think that may be a holdover of... Oh, sweet. That may be a carryover from making melee attacks wake you up, because there was a little while where if you got entranced and then you got hit, you could just keep getting hit or something. I don't quite remember how it worked. Maybe not. Okay. What do I want to do here? At this point, I could actually like start buying melee abilities, but something I like to play with at this stage in the game is just to like really skew my melee upwards high, so that I never have to worry about hitting things. I find as long as I can do consistent damage against things, things are kind of hunky-dory. Except for the fact that I said hunky-dory, that's not really cool. The fact that we saw an orc archer there means that there might be a captain or a unique or something. Archers don't really just show up here, so expect a pact when you see them now. What's my situation here? I'm wearing my greatsword. Let's switch to the longsword. I should probably set up inscriptions for these weapons, but I'm guessing I'm probably going to get rid of one or more of them pretty soon. So I'll worry about that when I have to. Yeah, so there's a champion. I'm guessing, wow, there's got to be a captain here. Or somewhere. And actually, you know what? I don't have finesse yet, so this longsword is kind of terrible. I might... So this is funny. I'm trying to close the door, and every turn, I guess he opens it, and I'm just wasting turns. So I'm going to switch to the axe, because axes are awesome. The champions have armor, so... Oh my god, I hate it when you do that. I want to kill him because they typically give you stuff, but now I don't know where he went. And actually, with this much armor, I literally do not care about orc archers. Like, they can shoot me all day long. So I'm not going to screw with their AI too much. The only reason I would is so they don't run away into stupid places, but... Nice, throwing a spear around a corner and killing an orc. Ooh, a 2d2 shovel. Oh, that's normal. That's the melee bonus that is special. Yep, just stay right there. Don't move. No. Sure, why not? Might as well add to my torch collection. And this is where I just start to get annoyed. I sort of might be worth turning delay off entirely so that I don't have to watch the arrow animation, but you kind of want to know where they're coming from. Nice. Alright, and what was this? Oh, wow. The last few games I've played, I have found in each, and they're games that I either got to the throne room or won, I found exactly 2 potions of constitution in each game, so it's nice to have them now. We have too much stuff. What does my helmet look like? Oh, that's good. Yeah, I'm ditching this dagger. That is actually one of my favorite moves in the game. That darkness toss. I wish more monsters had that later. Actually, I wish Unmourned had it. Although there's so much darkness stuff in the late game that I take that back. Half if you're listening, I didn't mean it. I'm not sure how much. Whoa. Have we even seen an Orc Warrior yet? I don't think so. Or am I out to lunch? Oh, I've slain 10 of the 21. Yeah, I've certainly seen them. Okay. Okay, so this is the thing about flanking near a wall. Don't do it, because there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. There's enough dudes here that they can surround me. And that would be a shame to die that way. Oh wow, nice hit. I guess the sustenance ring is cute, but I have so much food. Sustenance isn't such a huge deal for people who, like, if you know you're going to buy will and will abilities, food isn't such a big deal because usually the biggest thing that consumes food is the monsters that cause hunger. Ugh. I just wish they didn't exist. Hunger-causing monsters are the worst for that because if you have low will, it'll most of the time work. They're hunger attacks. So okay, this is awful. They seem to be staying still, so I'm going to try and get the evasion bonus, even though it does squat, kind of. The sword might work better here, but... And you see, that's a cute situation where I missed my flanking attack, and he moved up here, and I moved directly to the left. I could have gone up, I guess, to get a charge. Like, charge triggers an awful percentage of the time when you're using flanking. Nice. This gives follow through, I think, right? Oh, we're totally using this. Okay. Although I'm not going to get anything for charge off this weapon. Although I'm getting squat off the battle axe too, so I guess. I don't need you anymore. I think at this point I'll take finesse. Ah. Why does the right arrow key mean confirm? Yeah, I'll buy you, and I guess I'll buy you too, but I can't. So where we're going with this is we're going to get finesse, zone of control. Depending on how much strength we get, we might get momentum, and then later on we might get strength, and maybe knockback. I like melee abilities a lot, so just not going to worry about it for now. Where's our clock? Okay, we're still doing okay. I don't like going into fights stunned, and usually the stun clock is pretty low, so. This broken sword of Gondolin, I don't care about. Orcs aren't really that scary anymore. Oh, although now we know there's an orc around. Oh my gosh. Just gonna go back to this vantage point here. I don't actually know what's in their room and I don't want to deal with it. That centipede just got in the way. What is this? Nice hit. Why did I flank? Why? That's handy. Those things are actually really useful. These are incredibly useful if you don't have a digger yet. Is there anything that I can drop? Warding is handy, light is handy, sanctity also handy. Clarity not so handy. I guess I really only need one kind of throwing weapon. Maybe I'll just stick with axes, as much as I hate to say it. This freedom thing. Okay, that's a shadow mold. I passed some turns in front of him to see if he would jiggle around. Alright, I don't have a will yet. Let's forget about these stabs. I love these vaults that just have like stat draining stuff everywhere. Sure glad I explored this thing. Nice. Oh, a forge. Well, this is a pretty crappy room. This is obviously like a pre-designed kind of vault thing. Why am I going that way? There's a shadow worm. I kind of should have waited for him to... Wow, what's with all the stat drain herbs? I should have waited for him to spawn a bit more. Just farming for a bit of experience, but... These centipedes have huge defense, but you should, with finesse and like good melee, you should be able to get a single critical off, and 3d9 is pretty much like hitting it with a greatsword, so good enough. What the heck? It's like I didn't see any purple molds, but they became people, or herbs, wow. Oh, no, wrong ones. This is a pretty not great idea, what I'm doing here, but whatever. The faster you can kill things, the better. What? Stat drain hell, for reals. Follow through is pretty good. And so you can see, like, any extra attacks you can get at all are great. Follow through is just kind of gravy. Okay, that's it for that floor. I don't really know what's up there. So let's go there en route, I guess. We'll be done. Oh, right, the shadow mold. Okay, just in case he has something. Is the battle axe better for this? The greatsword gets more out of charge. That's not where he was. Totally not worth it. So this sword is probably going to come with me for the ride, so I'm going to inscribe it. I will probably inscribe my shield. And that great sword is probably going to be what I use the most as an alternate. And there we go. Nice. Doing okay for consumables already. Again, our inventory is full and we won't be able to equip our secondary weapon without dropping our shield. Probably going to ditch one of these stabs. Sanctity is kind of a nice to have. I'm clearly not going to like purposely equip anything first at this point that I have Lore Master. Clarity is also sort of a nice to have. This axe, it's a great one-handed weapon. This Crown Command is kind of a nice to have. Warding even is kind of a nice to have. Like, the light is probably the most likely thing that I should ditch. But. So we're at 450. Our light is kind of crummy still, and our lantern is soon to run out of juice. So I think at this stage I might bump our will a bit. I don't remember how much will is required for inner light, so let's take a look. 5. And it's good just to have it at this point, because we've noticed that there's a huge abundance of stat draining monsters, and it helps us defend against that. And if we need to use our stabs, there's no point in holding on to all those stabs if we're going to fail every usage of them. So I'm going to take inner light because it's free. I have the will affinity. So that'll help us if shadow spiders show up a little bit out of depth, which everything in Sil seems to show up out of depth. And next time we run through this dungeon, probably we'll bump melee to 15 is kind of a safe bet. If I can get Zone of Control, that would be pretty rad. But I don't need it yet. Zone of Control we can wait until like usually, you know, when I buy it is when I see my first werewolf. Those are really a huge pain to deal with. No matter what your mid game melee is, they're just so hard to hit, and they poison you for a lot. So I do enjoy having Zone of Control at that point because they sort of jitter around you all the time, and you'll hit them like 50 times. It makes them a lot easier. So we'll kind of wait till then. But so far so good. If you're at the stage and you just haven't found armor to bump you up this high, you might want to stick with light armor, like a really good leather armor or whatever you found, and just keep bumping evasion. It's not the best case scenario, but you'll probably die if you don't. And it doesn't need to go super high, because remember, our effective evasion most of the time is actually 13, which is pretty good, considering this is our protection. So do the calculation with that in mind. And that's enough babbling for now. I think we'll call it here, and I will see you guys next time.